All right, good evening. We've got 14 so far and more people joining. So we're going to be looking at Jerry Fortin's next sale tonight. We've got selections from his Frontline Dime set. We've got the Newtown Seated Halves, Part 2. And so we're going to start out talking to Aaron Heintz, the Newtown collector. We've got some questions for him just about his collecting history and strategy. And then we're going to look at four coins from the half dollars, and Jerry, myself, and Aaron are going to talk about different attributes of each coin. And then we've got some additional coins that Jerry had some customer questions on, so we'll review those. And then finally, we're going to play Guess the Coin, and we've got um, three seated half dollars to give away to the people who successfully win that challenge. Just to give you a preview, and we'll do some practice runs, but just to give you a preview, the idea is that I'm going to put a Liberty seated coin on the screen, just the obverse, and ask people to identify which denomination it is. It's harder than it looks, so you'll see when we get there. All right, well, let's jump in here. We've got Jerry Fortin and Aaron Heintz. So we're going to be talking to Aaron Heintz a little bit about his collecting history. So Aaron, let's jump in here. Can you tell us how you got started collecting coins?
Well, I started as a kid. I can still clearly recall my sixth birthday. I got my first Whitman albums and started collecting pennies, nickels. I had the good fortune that my mother was a waitress for years when I was young. So every day, it seems, she'd bring home her tip money, and I was able to go through that and pretty well populate my Whitman folders. That was mid '60s, '66 that I started that. So we were shortly coming out of the transfer away from the silver coin. So even from that young age, I was holding on to the dimes and quarters and that came through that were silver. She made sure she pulled those aside. So pretty quickly, I moved into those denominations because a fair number of them were still in circulation, so I got to pull them aside. It was always nice too that I could get the occasional Buffalo nickel or a Mercury dime or even an Indian head cent that would pop up now and then. And so little by little, I started expanding and collecting a little bit of everything. Um, when I was about 10 or 11, uh, my great grandmother died, and she left me what amounted to a typeset. So I had my first silver dollars, a piece dollar, and a Morgan dollar, and some 19th century coins, two and 3 cent piece. Still remember the 2 cent piece had a nice hole drilled in it. So these were not high quality coins, but I was pretty fascinated with just the array of coins and the history that was there.
Sure. Uh,
Um,
do you recall picking out any of the rare dates in the Lincoln Cent series?
I did. I found the 1909 SVDB
Wow.
on the porch. I left a critical part. I grew up in a small town, and we were a couple thousand people in the town, and there was a bank on the main street, and I knew most of the tellers, or my parents did at any rate. And I could go in there with a dollar and get two rolls of pennies, go through those 100 pennies, pull out one or two if I found them and replace them and bring them back in. And over the course of a few hours, I might go through, dozens of rolls. So I found the 1909 SVDB in pretty crappy condition, but I've still got that one, and it's a treasure for me.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. So like a lot of folks, I mean, I listened to Jerry's podcast, and I think somewhere around my teens, the interest in coins started to fade. Got interested in lots of other things, and kind of let things drop. And it wasn't until the early 90s, when I was in my 30s, when frankly I started making a little more money, and my mom was cleaning out the house and said, "You got to take these things away. We don't want to hold on to your coin collection or your stamp collection anymore."
Mhm.
And I found my way to some local dealers and bought raw coins and started to fill out those coins that were missing from my collection. I had the cash to buy, the 1931S and the 14D, and I bought a 1916D Mercury dime,
Mhm.
all in raw condition, unholdered coins. And I started going around to my local dealers and with my Excel spreadsheets and going through them and working my way back through the history of U.S. coins, and started collecting the Barber series and a little bit in the Liberty series, the seated series, and gradually started to fill up Whitman and later Dansko albums for just about every set, uh, short of um, short of the early dollars, I guess. I had all the early halves, dimes, quarters, nickels, and so on. Um, and again, I had finally had enough cash that I could afford coins that were in the tens of dollars and a few $100 maybe for the high end coins.
Mhm.
Um, and then I think sometime around, I got a little more serious about 20 years ago, and started buying, some more expensive raw coins again and filling out some of these albums. At some point about, gosh, what would it be, Jerry? I met Jerry at about in the 2013 or 14 or something like that.
Right, 2014.
And I had heard it elsewhere, but Jerry looked me straight in the eye and says, "You got to stop spending that kind of money on raw coins.
Mhm.
If you're going to spend several $100s on a coin, look at the certified coins, get to understand them, learn how to grade." Um, and I didn't. I look back at a lot of the raw coins that I bought, and they were all over the board. They were, clearly many were cleaned. Clearly, I thought I knew what I was looking for. Look for toned coins. Look for things that look more natural. But I think I gradually got a little smarter. But I started. I guess at around that time, I was trying to fill out a lot of the 19th century coins. The usual suspects and the seated series and the dimes, especially. Brought me to Jerry, and I I don't know what the first certified coin I bought was, but it was from him.
Mhm.
One of the early ones was 72cc that I spent what seemed like an ungodly sum of a couple $1,000s on, and was very pleased with, and I kind of caught the bug.
Okay. So at some point you started pursuing the dimes and a half dollars in a really big way and going after some top rated coins. How did you get focused on that denomination?
Well, the dimes first because I found them more available. I like the era, number one, I should say. I like the historical span, going back to the 1830s and all the way to the 1890s. I was always a student of history, and it seemed fascinating to me that I could have a coin that was from the Van Buren administration, and and think about who might have handled these things through time. Um, but I started to focus on the dimes because I think it was just a matter of timing and what I needed at that time, and the availability of quality dimes, primarily through Jerry's offerings, but
Hmm.
from other dealers as well. Um, and how should I say? I was still at the time trying to fill out other collections. If I was missing a 2-cent piece, I was looking for it, and increasingly I would buy that almost exclusively, I should say. At that point, I started buying them in holders, certified coins. But of course, the 2-cent, the 3-cent, some of these things are short series. Um, the halves really jumped out at me. I needed a dozen or two of those coins. They were going to cost me hundreds anyway to buy those. So I started buying those in certified, in holders, um, and found them more available. The quarters were intimidating. There were too many of those
Yeah.
that just weren't accessible. I didn't think I had the budget to reach for those. But I did start to enjoy the halves as well because I could see them. I could hold them in my hand, and I could, really appreciate the detail better. You know, it suits my eyesight a little better sometimes than the smaller coins.
Yeah.
Um,
Now with that current $half set, very focused on dates and mint marks. Have you ever been attracted to variety collecting at all?
Absolutely. I especially, I started gravitating towards some of the more notable varieties, more visible varieties. I really like the ones that I could hold at arm's length and see the doubling of a date or a visible crack or that sort of thing. Less so with some of if I needed a microscope to find the variety, I had it. I had one. I used one, but they weren't as appealing. And I have to say that early, probably 2019 or so, I got into the ultimate variety set that Jerry lists on the site that Bill Boogert has put up there, and I pulled together at least 2/3 of those, maybe more. Um, I think COVID really drove me inside, and I
Yeah.
started digging a little deeper and going back to some of the, I don't know, other sources of coins. Geez, I was back on eBay even trying to find, some of the more obscure things. I've heard Jerry say it too, but sometimes if you're looking for that variety, you're not always going to find it in a high grade, certified coin. So I might have been happy even if I knew the coin had been, mucked with a little bit. I was finding them from not just the auction houses, but the eBays and the dealers around me. I started going back to some of the dealers to try to find some of those varieties. And I put together a collection of is it 329 of those varieties. The top 100, I got a fair number of those together. At some point, though, I think it got a little overwhelming. I was looking at 1,000 seated halves or
Right.
so, and it's just hard to enjoy the special ones as much. And um, you know, I always enjoy the hunt for these things more than I think I enjoy
Yeah.
having
Yeah.
sometimes.
So let's talk about some of those special coins. What are sort of your favorite pieces among the $half?
Of the Dayton Mint Mark set that I've got
Yeah.
at this
Yeah.
point, um, well, clearly the 78S stood out. I mean, that was the the tough one to find. I knew that my budget wasn't going to allow me to get a extremely high grade coin, so I had targeted a high VF to maybe low AU range. That narrows it down to a handful right
Yeah.
there, and you knew that some of them aren't going to move. So I was very happy to find one of those on pretty sure it was a heritage auction.
Mhm.
Employed Jerry's help to get it some feedback on the coin. I think I found a fairly strong one. I know it sold in the first round of the auction.
Yeah.
Um, and beyond that, really, I was always attracted to the Civil War dates. I like those. I like the history of that. I don't know that there's anything extraordinary about the coins themselves of those dates, but the years are special to me, and so I tried to focus on finding especially high quality coins in the 61 to 65 and even 66 range, um, and found quite a few good ones, I think. I know we're talk about a little bit about a couple
Yeah.
of key dates.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll look at those. Look at those in a minute.
Sure.
Um, there's always the coins that got away. Are there any particular things that you remember in terms of, oh, I wish I had bought that?
Well, certainly I wish I had bought, there are several dates where I wish I had bought the kind of coin that I have now earlier on.
Mhm.
I can go, Jerry will tell you, I've sold 300 plus seated halves as I've continuously upgraded, so I've got dates that I bought four, five, six times, because I'd find a better one and a better one. And
Yeah.
um, I don't feel bad about that. I think it was all part of the education. It helped me understand better my buying skill, if you will. I learned pretty quickly if I had paid a certain amount for a coin and I couldn't sell it for that much, that
Mhm.
maybe I had overpaid.
Yeah.
So, in retrospect, I could have done a much better job, I think, of targeting a budget and really going at it more intelligently and saying, This is the kind of level I want to collect at," rather than accumulating lower grade coins and then upgrading them repeatedly.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Um, all right. A $64,000 question, or in your case, actually a little bit more than that, is why are you selling at this point? The frontline set, at least.
Well, I don't intend to stop collecting. I say that right up front. I it's a few things. I you know I think I've got a few years left in me. I have not. I'll be 65 in a couple of months. So I don't feel like I'm in a rush to do this, but I don't want to have my family try to sell my coins. I don't want to do that. But I think more than that, I, I miss seeing my coins. I really, my collection got to the point where I can't keep these around. I can't keep them in
Right.
my office. I can't keep them on the shelf. I can't pull them out and look at them, often. They sit in a safe deposit box for the bulk of their life.
Yeah.
A fair number of these coins, especially some of the most valuable coins,
Mhm.
come in. I look at them for minutes, and I stick them in, and I take a trip to the safe deposit box and put them in there. And that's not as fun as having them around. I
Right.
found myself going back to my Whitman albums and the Dansko albums and pulling them out and and pawing over them, and I miss that.
Sure.
I want to. I think I'll probably. I've got my eye on a couple of different smaller collections that I want to put together, um, and I hope to do that going forward.
Right. Yeah. So, what areas going forward do you think you'll be pursuing?
Well, a couple things appeal to me. One is clearly a better quality type set. Going all the way back to the beginning. I like the varieties that are out there, and I want to enjoy them a little better too. I got as I focused on the dimes and the halves. Um, it's been a while since I looked at a good 3 cent piece. So I want to
Yeah.
I want to do that too. I'm also kind of fascinated by the early dollars, and I think there's something to be done there
Sure.
for me.
All right. In terms of kind of what floats your boat visually, when you're looking at coins, which attributes are, sort of play the strongest role in your buying decisions? Are you looking, primarily at luster or color or eye appeal?
Um, it's I like a really strong strike. It's what really started pushing me toward the higher grades.
Hmm.
Um, I do want to see good luster, and again, the higher grades, I start to see that a little better. It's what really, I'm remembering back too when I was getting pretty comfortable with collecting XF to AU kind of level coins, and I started grabbing a handful of the Philadelphia, the later Philadelphia mints, the 79 to 91 dates. And, of course, those often are more available in higher grades. And I started to see, gee, they look pretty special. The strikes are really sharp and the luster is really fantastic. They look like they're minted yesterday practically. And so, and it's, of course, that's something you really want to see in hand. I started to buy fewer and fewer coins at auction unless I had the opportunity to see those coins. Um, Color is interesting. Jerry would probably tell you that, I think I was seduced by some of the more exciting colors, let's
Uh-huh.
say. So I bought some early coins that had some great looking oranges and blues and, colors that maybe weren't, that you don't find in nature.
Uh-huh.
Um, but of course, there's a more moderate spectrum that you want to find in coins, and so those are really special too. If you find those colors that are right for a 150-year-old coin, then I like to see that too.
Sure. All right. And wrapping up our Q&A portion here, what advice would you give to someone starting a Liberty seated $50 set?
Well, certainly, again, in retrospect, I wish I had thought through more clearly a budget for doing these things and saying, what is the scope of that you want to try to tackle? I'm grateful for the journey that I took through that, but I found myself, like I said, 1,000 coins deep in seated halves before I turned around and said, wait a minute, what am I really doing here? And which
Uh-huh.
coins really bring me pleasure?
Yeah.
And, I think more than anything, it was a date and mint mark set. It was less and less the varieties. I've hung on to a few interesting ones, but plan ahead, buy the best coin that you can, that meets your goals. And um, I don't know, sell your duplicates,
Okay.
get out of the ones that aren't right and, learn from your experience.
Good advice. Okay. We're going to look at four coins now. And Aaron's going to talk about why he bought the coin. I'll talk about, what I saw when I viewed it. And then Jerry will talk about, actually seeing the coin in hand. So let me go ahead and share my.
Yeah, Len, while you're doing that, I just want to remind everybody that, the Session 2 auction is really Civil War centric between, my set and Aaron's set. I mean, just the way the lots got sequenced. I mean, this is a treasure trove of, really top pop Civil War dimes and halves. So just everybody should keep that in mind that this is an important opportunity.
All right. Everyone see the coin here?
Yes.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
All right. All right, so we've got the 1861 half dollar, PCGS 66 CAC approved. Aaron, you want to talk about how this coin spoke to you?
Sure. I remember the 1861 and another coin we're going to look at later. Both I found at one of the Whitman shows in Baltimore in 2018. Um, The 61 was one of many dates that I had been through a raw coin and probably two or three levels of increasingly updated uh, XF, VF into XF coins. And a West Coast dealer had the 61 and a few other very high quality seated halves as part of a what would you call it, a date collection, one coin per year. And they were all of extremely high quality. In fact, he was trying to sell the entire collection. This was one date. Again, it was a Civil War date. So there were a number of coins that appealed to me, but they were all at least four-figure coins and many five-figure coins. It's not apparent from the illustration, but this coin had great luster. It's the strike's fantastic. I think it's very sharp. The eagle's feathers. It had good color. I don't know. It just spoke to me. The coins that I had prior to that were not nearly equivalent. By that point, I was trying to focus primarily on CAC coins. I did learn. I mean, I've tried to learn to grade, to grade and to understand grading, and which were deserving and which were not. But I also rely heavily on Jerry, on CAC. For that matter, and so I like the reinforcement that brings. I don't pretend to be, as smart as most of you guys, especially you and Jerry and Len and Greg and you guys. I'll never see as many coins as you have, and so I'm very pleased to lean on the CAC certification.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So I looked at Aaron's coins at the ANA convention last year. What hit me with this coin was really the luster. I mean, it's all there. It's got a nice light crust to it, and when you tilt it, the color really pops. Color is just really hard to capture in imaging, but the image here, I mean, it looks like a little mottled. It's not at all. This is a really nice coin. Jerry?
Yeah, I've got the coin right here in hand under my floor standing lamp. Absolutely. I mean, this is accurately graded as a 66. And the key is when you're in such high grades, there's two parameters. One is the lack of any marks. And secondly is the luster. And it takes a while to look at fives and sixes to understand what the luster should look like at this grade level. This coin is we sometimes call it a headlight, or the other terms we use for like really super frosty coins. This is not a super frosty coin. This is just as if it just got struck yesterday, and then it acquired a nice aquamarine patina with copper gold at the rims, and the reverse is absolutely spectacular. The images just can't show the luster. And the cartwheel action is swirling. I mean, it doesn't take much of a movement of the holder to get the cartwheels to just spin. So this is just a fantastic 66. It would make a great acquisition as a type coin.
Yep. And also tied with 8 other coins for finest known at CAC. Okay, let's go on to the 61O. Aaron, you want to talk about what appealed to you here?
Sure. Well, right off the bat, this one also had a strong luster. I found this one in auction. This 61O, of course, is a very notable series. I did try to put together a collection of the die marriages. I had the majority of them, but I think the better ones that I had were probably an MS62 on two or three of the varieties. And I hadn't seen anything better than I had seen a 64 or two, but this one really popped out as a graded MS66. Yeah, another one with strong luster. This is one I didn't see in hand. This is one that was an auction house. It was not one I could get to and see. So, I took a shot. I trusted CAC. I trusted PCGS and was really wowed when I got it. Was really pleased. Um, 61-0. This is what a great history that year we had. And, I was just pleased to sort of cap off my 61-0 variety set
Sure.
with a brilliant one like this.
Yeah, so of course the 61-0 series is just hugely popular, 15 dye varieties, publicized by Randy Wiley, and people really go after these. This one is tied for finest at PCGS, and in hand, a lot like the previous coin. The luster is definitely all there, and you've got a nice light even crust, not dark at all. Just a very similar look to this one.
Yeah, I've got it under a light. Actually, this coin is more colorful than the 61. It's got the same exact luster as a 61, but way more colorful, and the color doesn't come across on the images. That's a limitation of my images is this coin's just phenomenal. So it's a W14, so it's a bisected date to begin with, so it's a CSA issue. And I've got it tilted under the bright light, and the rims turn sky blue with some intermixed gold, and you just don't see that. Again, I'm looking at the obverse. You just don't see that from my images. And the balance of the coin is like this rose color that's fairly accurate on the images. It's just the toning at the borders on the obverse just don't show up on the image. And also at 12 o'clock, you see that area above the head.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is not on the holder. That is actually a lack of toning in that area. It's not as prominent on the coin as the image. So just everybody should be aware of that. This is a phenomenal piece. Let me flip it over. Same situation, light rose, steely luster, and some blues at the extreme rims, pristine surfaces. I mean, one of the finest 61-0s that have survived, and would certainly be the prize of any seated half-dollar collection.
All right, moving on. Let's go to the 62S. This coin is a PC MS64 CAC. Aaron, what did you like about this one?
62S is another hard date for me. I know that's one that I'm looking at my notes here. I went through 5 coins before that to work my way up through different grades. This was also from that same dealer that I got the 1861 from. So again, I focused out of the many coins he was selling at that point. I focused on the Civil War dates at that point. What should I say? It had the whole strike. It looked like a very strong strike. It's not the 66 that the other ones were, but a very strong PCGS 64. The color looked natural. It looks a little, I don't know, uneven on the obverse, I guess, in this image, but, and I should say, Jerry's photography is as good as anyone's, but, for you guys that are seriously considering these, I hope you got the opportunity to see them in hand. because these are all very high quality coins. I think this has got a nice luster to it as well.
Yeah,
It has, I should say too that, this one, the other thing about this one that appealed to this also had, as did a number of these, a strong pedigree. It had it was a Colonel Green coin. It was a Newman pedigree. And so, again, I trust other people who are smarter than me to have bought good coins too.
sure. Yeah, I doubt Newman paid more than $1 for this coin.
Right.
Yeah, this is just a nice balanced coin. Frosty luster, and nice medium toning, and just I think really pleasing rose color.
Yeah, I've got it in hand. So it's a Newman coin. And for people on the call who are experienced with Newman coin, they share some similar colors based on how they were stored. A lot of the Newman coins are dark and crusty, and some of them are just not nice. This one bucks that trend. This coin is lightly toned as compared to the many Newmans I've seen. The patina is transparent under a bright light, and the frosty luster just comes right out. The reason it's a 4 is the luster's, consistent with what you would get for a 4. I don't see any marks that would, downgrade the coin. So it's got frosty luster as compared to the 61 and the 61.0. The luster is just sharper, more brilliant. So this one's got a little bit more subdued luster that's actually accurately certified as a 4. Again, my images, one of the problems with the way I do images is I have to kick up the contrast to get the colors to come out. And I tend to overemphasize the dark regions. So if you look at the obverse and you see from like 5 o'clock through 9 o'clock, and you see that dark patch, it's clearly not that way on the coin. Yeah, it's a little bit darker, but not as thick is probably the right word to describe that toning. It's much lighter. And the reverse is real pretty. It's an even rose, and I think the images have captured that. So for a 62S, this is a very, very nice example that would please any collector.
Yeah, so I actually have some Newman material here. Oh, I have to change the screen sharing here for a minute. Let's see. Zoom. Hang on. That's not it. Oh, there we go. Okay. So this is he used paper envelopes like this. Coins are in those. And you can actually see some sulfur on this thing. So some of the coins did develop some toning, and then they were in the envelopes, and then they were in these cigar boxes. So you've got this wood reacting with the coins as well. This particular one he happened to have his quarters in. So these coins did develop toning, and in some cases quite spectacular toning. So anyway, that's just an aside there. Go back to the screen sharing here.
That's great, Len.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, next coin. So this is the 66S PCGS PC65 Plus CAC approved from the Eliasberg collection. Aaron, what impressed you about this coin?
Another one with a sharp strike. The toning isn't there. It's not as dark toned as some of the other ones, but it had a good luster. It's another coin that I went through several before I found one this quality. I think there's only one graded better at CAC, as well as PCGS, so it's very near the best out there. Yeah, I mean, you look at the detail; it's all there. This looks like a 20th century coin in terms of how sharply it's struck and well preserved.
Yeah, this coin is just an absolute blazer. Some nice light gold toning, but it's just flashy. And the reverse is all there. The claws and feathers completely struck up. And yeah, just a single piece finer at MS66.
Yeah, agree with everything that's been said. The images are, I think, here 100% accurate. Very light toning. So when you get a whitish tone coin, my images tend to show some greens, which is what you're seeing. That's just how the photography comes out. Sometimes I'll try and reduce the greens and soften them and add a little bit more reds. But this is an absolutely original piece with very little patina. There's a little bit of, call it light toning in the over shield below the horizontal lines. You can see that on the image. Other than that, this is just a sparkling white coin with thick frosted luster. Very pretty.
Okay. All right. Moving along here. We've got Jerry received a few questions on some of these coins, so he's going to talk about these specific coins. We're starting out with the 1840 PCGS MS64 Plus with the reversal of 1839 CAC approved. And we had a question about the surface conditions on this coin.
Yeah, so the images suggest that the coin might be a little bit on the crusty side, which is absolutely not the case. This is a really, really nice 64. So the fields are frosted. There's, mint frost surrounding all of the stars and the devices. And the mint frost is similar to what we saw in the 61 and the 61.0. The strike is quite good, though you still got a couple of weak stars by Liberty's head. And on the reverse, same situation. This is what I would call a steely frosted look. Swirling cartwheels under a light. The toning is light. So this is the furthest thing from crusty. It does have a very thin, transparent patina, but this coin just lights up under bright light. And the luster is phenomenal for a 64 plus. If anybody's thinking of bidding on this coin, they should. They're going to be very, very pleased if they win it.
All right, moving on here to the 56S and 58. It's a coin for which either none or very few mint state pieces. But this one's not cacked. Can you talk about that?
Sure. So everybody knows how do I put this? I mean, CAC approval is subjective, as is grading. John has a phenomenal eye, and he will see things that most collectors don't see. And sometimes we get the coins back, we scratch our heads and say, why in the world didn't this great coin CAC? But then if we look at it hard enough, we may find the reason why. And on the 56S, I mean, first of all, this is a really tough date. Very, very tough date in AU 58. I've got it in hand. I've got it under bright light. It's steely, almost a little proof-like. It's got beautiful gold toning. So here you see greens on the obverse, but under the bright light, this coin turns light gold. Very, very pretty. However, if you look between stars 11 and 12 carefully, there is a luster break. And you can see that there's a spot there. And that's, I believe, why this coin didn't cack. If that luster break wasn't there, I believe this coin would have cacked because it's all there. The reverse is absolutely spectacular. You got center rows and it transitions to blues above the eagle's head. And then at the legend, it turns to gold, which is the classic toning pattern. You typically center rows and then blues, and you get gold at the rims. This coin is phenomenal, but I believe it didn't cack because it has that one spot between stars 11 and 12. Now, I would not withhold a bid on this coin because this is a 56S. You got to keep that in mind.
Yeah, at this grade level, these are onesies, twosies. Every coin is individual and unique.
I think my notes show there are only about 6 better.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
They,
Okay. All right. Next coin is 59S. And we've got some crescents on both sides that are a little bit deeper toning. Jerry, you want to talk about the color on this more specifically?
Yeah. My images are terrible. Let's just start with that. Don't laugh, Blake.
Yeah, I
You
appreciate your honesty.
Yeah. You got to remember when I take pictures, it's how the coin looks in hand. So I can't tilt the coin to get the luster. So what you're seeing is that in-hand appearance. And yeah, the images, especially the obverse, you've got that dark toning arc that transitions to this yellow gold. And then the rest of the obverse is just a little bit of a light rose. And on the reverse, you get more of this copper orange that's fairly uniform. Now you put this under a bright light, it's a completely different story. So that dark copper, it's almost like black ebony at some point, by the base. That pretty well melts away. And what you get in that place is more of a light copper gold. And it transitions pretty much right to rose. And so that whole yellow arc, you don't see it under a bright light. That's gone. And yeah, it's just what happens when you put a coin under bright light is some of the patina completely changes character. And that's one of the challenges, like with a PCGS TrueView, when they blast a coin with light from multiple angles, they have a much better portrayal of the luster. The problem is they wash out the colors. So there's a lot of times there's surprises when you buy a coin based on a TrueView. It doesn't quite look the way it's portrayed. At least with my photography in hand, that's how it looks. But when you put it in the bright light, it just completely changes character and it becomes a much, much more pleasing experience.
Yeah. I actually like what Heritage does. They give you a juiced photo and then they give you a scan of the coin. And the scan shows you what it looks like in hand, and the juice photo is what it looks like if you play around with all the colors. But between the two, it's a pretty good idea of what
Yeah.
the coin is.
Yeah. And this is one of the limitations that I have. I mean, you get the in hand, and then you have to look at the descriptions and to see what it looks like under a bright light. So that's the way we've done it.
Yeah.
This is a very, very pretty coin. I know the pictures are going to turn off some people. That's understandable, but you get this under a bright light, and this is pretty sweet. And it's in terms of luster, it's all of a 4 any day.
Okay. And of course, CAC approved. All right, let's move on to the 68 in PCGS 63. The images indicate contrasting features against a copper background. What does this look like in hand? And the thing that pops out with me on this coin is it is just hammered. But
Yeah.
what are you seeing in person, Jerry?
This is a hell of a 63. I mean, this is a no-brainer. Now, the reason it's a 63 is there's a little bit of chatter above Liberty's left-facing shoulder. So in that area, there's just a little bit of stuff going on in the fields. And there's a couple of very light lines in the right obverse field. But you'll see that, with a 10x. But you put this under a bright light, and that copper color pretty well disappears. What you have is very light copper and gold at the borders, and the rest of the coin looks untoned. And when you get an untoned coin, that's when the luster really, really comes into play, because there's nothing to mute the luster. This coin, we could have called it a luster bomb under a bright light. It is that spectacular.
So is this a coin that maybe has like 64 or even 65 luster, but with a few marks?
I would say this is a 4 with marks.
Okay. So
Yep.
for people who like luster and marks don't bother them as much, this is the coin.
Yeah, this is the coin. This coin's a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. One of the things when you look at larger coins like $50, a lot of times when I write my descriptions, I'll say undisturbed viewing. And what that means is under a bright light, you look in the fields and there's nothing in the fields that will bother the viewing experience. This coin has luster of a higher grade, but under a bright light, you can see just a little bit of the chatter above her left-facing shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the situation. And that's why it's a 3.
Yeah.
As a 3, this coin's a bargain. Because, I mean, look at the strike. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Absolutely phenomenal.
The picture looks awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We are going to move on to...
Well, let's just stop there. Is there any other questions? Because I have all of the session 2 lots here. If there's any other questions about any of the session 2 lots, dimes or halves, this is the time now to ask them. And if there's no other questions, then we'll turn it back to Len.
Yes, I do. This is Dan. What is the, I saw the viewed the coin, the 1860 with the crazy color.
Oh.
And I just didn't, while I understand it's cacked and all that, I just wonder if it's a little over the top and not actually original. The reverse is real strong. Anyhow, that's my question is, what's the considered view of whether that color is normal in any way, shape, or form?
Yeah, what I'm doing, I've got it right here, and I've got a glass. And, whenever I look at a coin, somebody asks me a question, is the coin original? The first place I go is in the right obverse field. That area doesn't lie. You cannot hide what's happened to a coin in that area, because if there's any disturbances in the field, that field area, you'll see it with a 10x. This coin's going to go for a lot of money. I can tell you right now, based on the auction lot viewing, this coin has gotten a lot of attention. And Dan, this coin's not been messed with. This is original. Sometimes it's hard to believe that it acquired this kind of toning. But I see nothing in the fields that would suggest that this coin has been wiped or mishandled. Like I said, this coin's going to bring a lot of money.
Yeah, and we've seen that in your auctions, Jerry. When you get coins like this, they'll go for 3 times, 4 times guide.
Yeah, get ready on this one.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right.
Let's bring up our coins here. Okay.
So Len, you want to give a background on how we use the slide deck?
Sure. So at the ANA summer seminar, after we've been talking about Liberty seated coins all week, we have a quiz to finish out the last afternoon. And we just put coins on the screen and ask the class to tell us what they are. And I tell you, even the instructors miss coins. No one's ever gotten a perfect score on this. I think Brian Greer might possibly get a perfect score, but it's very difficult. So we'll see what happens tonight. So the coins we're playing for, we've got a 43O, nice two-tone circulated VF coin. So that's first one. We've got a 54O half, important type coin with arrows type, thickly toned. Looks like close to XF. And we've got a 60O. So we've got 3 New Orleans pieces, light crust, some nice color on the obverse, I'm sure, when that's tilted. And I'll call it XF. Hopefully.
Yeah, the first 2 are holdered, and the third one is raw.
Okay. All right. So we're going to have a couple practice rounds. Make sure I've got the chat here. And okay, the chat is on. And I will show a coin on the screen. And in the form of a question, you will identify the denomination. So let's just give it a practice run here. Enter your question in the chat. And I'll identify the first correct response. So somebody said dime, which is it's not formed as a question, so that's not going to work here.
Halftime.
What is a dime? Dan Perkins. Very nice. Okay, let's see what it was. It was a dime. Okay. All right. Let's do one more practice run here. All right. Next coin. Who can be the first correct respondent? What is a half? Again, Dan Perkins. Jerry, are we going to limit this to 1 prize per person?
Yeah, let's do that. So Len, this is not the original slide deck. This is way too easy.
No, they're mixed up denominations, so I don't know. Maybe,
Okay, all right. Because
maybe you've just looked at.
we had macros of just the head, or
Oh, you want just the heads?
what?
You want just the heads? We can switch to just the heads. Okay, let's
Really make it hard.
Yeah, let's make
okay.
it harder because
All
this
right.
is that giveaway. I
I
mean,
need another drink then.
All right. Let me switch to the other deck.
yeah, let's go to the other deck and do a couple of practice sessions with the other deck because that
Okay.
raises the degree of difficulty.
All right. Yeah, this will not be nearly as easy.
Yeah, this is not young numismatist.
Yeah. Okay.
We
All
got some
right.
pros on this call. There, right.
Here we go. All right. So make sure I got the chat going here.
So what's the denomination of this coin?
What is halftime?
All right. All right, let's see what we had here. This was $1. Nobody got it. All
Practice,
right.
right?
Okay, we'll do one more practice one. All right. Here
No,
we
I
go.
got a couple more. We're gonna have a little fun.
Okay. All right. Next practice one.
What is a DD? What the hell is that?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Double die? And what is a dime?
Double dime?
Oh,
A double dime.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
cheating,
All
Tom.
right. Well, let's see what we got here. $50. All right. Okay, are we ready to play for real?
All right, let's do it.
All right, let's go. All right. Okay. Okay, let's see what we got. Quarter. And the first correct respondent was Bruce McRae.
All right, Bruce, you get the 43-0. Let me write that down.
Okay.
And a little bit of advice when we're doing this, look at the size of the stars with respect to the head. That's the key.
Yeah, the head placement with respect to the rim is also a key.
Yeah. All right, so Bruce, you're getting the 1843-0. Congrats.
All right. Okay, so next coin, we're playing for the 54-0 with arrows. And here we go.
$1.
Okay, let's see what we got. It was a dime, and the first correct respondent was Cliff.
Cliff Chen?
Yes.
Hey, Cliff, you're getting the 54-0. Good going. Again, look at the size of the stars with respect to the head.
All right. Okay, last coin. Here we go. Let's see what we've got. It was a half dime. Amy Hinkle is the first correct respondent.
All right, Hill. So you get the 1860.
All right, very good.
So you notice how difficult that is? Even for all of us who are pretty seasoned collectors, you saw there was a lot of wrong answers. Let me tell you a little story. So I was sitting in the background at the ANA when Len was doing this, and it was harder because there were other facets like shields. I mean, the slide deck had like 20 slides, and it was not only the head, but shields and other sections of the coin that made it quite difficult. And I'm sitting there and, I'm calling them out, and I got one wrong. And I was really, really upset with myself because it was a headshot and it was a quarter and I missed it. I thought it was a half. So that's what spawned when I built the presentation of the many faces of seated liberty. It was kind of like punishment to myself that I had to put this whole presentation together so I would understand all the different liberty seated designs. Actually, there's 14. There's 14 different renditions of the liberty seated design.
Yeah, it's harder. It's harder than it looks. And I think when they were actually engraving these coins, they were paying a ton of attention to this particular issue because they were saying, oh, he shaped the head this way. And they must have been thinking about this a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. The absolute worst design is the double dime.
Yeah. And some of the half dimes are not good either.
Oh, no. The half dimes are pretty atrocious.
Yeah.
The most beautiful is, of course, the $half because it's so consistent with the original Goldbrick dollar.
Yeah, and I think actually the Goldbrick dollar was, Goldbrick's finest work. That was his kind of coming out of the gate, coming out party coin.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, very good. Will, if there's any other questions in the audience, we'll give you a last chance to get them out now. If not, congrats to all the winners. You can also enter questions in chat if there's anything else out there. All right. So, Jerry, what date is the sale start?
Starts on March 22nd, goes for a week. Just like the first session, 1 year extended payment terms. I think Aaron and I want to see these go to other collectors and not float around in the dealer space. That's the last thing I want to see for this level of coins. So we will do whatever it takes to get these into community member hands. And about it.
All right. Very good. We'll wrap it up there. Aaron, any final thoughts?
No, I want to thank you all for tuning in, and I appreciate your questions.
All right.
You all bid aggressively.
Yeah. All right. Good luck to everyone in the auction, and we'll see you at an upcoming show.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.